a war for control. The control of your mind and your body. Americans are traditionally independent, very hard to control. But the architects of the New World Order have ways to force you into submission. First, through a well-orchestrated agenda including health care, financial security, safety from crime, and environmental issues, the public will be coerced into accepting a national identification card. It will be disguised in the cloak of benevolence, the government doing a great good deed for the people. Once the national identification card is in place, it will become the ID card. Without it, you'll not be able to make deposits or withdrawals at the bank, write a check at the supermarket, or even drive your automobile. Soon thereafter, legislation will require all citizens to carry their national ID card at all times.
Drop jelly beans, GMT, peyote. I know you feel me. Peace song is a natural trip to me. My rhymes are so vivid, you start to see things way different. America's fate. I was fast asleep, but now I'm wide awake. I was under the spell of King Guru and reserve notes. Religion and fashion, I used to be flashy till I had a total recall. Forgot what I already knew. It took me 33 years for me to see the truth.
They had the nerve, the audacity to let black folks suffer for 460 years. And at the end of the civil rights movement, rather than going back and saying, let's find out what has happened to black folk for 460 years. Have they been psychologically, emotionally, politically, educationally damaged? Nobody spent 1 minute of time trying to figure out what had happened to black folk over all that period of time. So in the course of the civil rights movement, at the end of it, they say, well, let's pretend that nothing has happened to them, that they were not injured, they were not hurt. And now let's go seek integration and pretend that we're all equal. Now that was grossly unfair, because by that point in time, in about the 1966 period, whites had become economic giants in America. They owned and controlled everything at that point in time. Black folk didn't own anything. Whites controlled almost 100% of all the wealth, the income, the privileges, the businesses, the resources, and all levels of government. Blacks had nothing. Blacks were one-foot midgets. And they allowed us then to use integration to walk from our communities, from our ghettos over in their communities, totally disarmed, not understanding anything, blind, naked, and then saying that you can go and compete. Compete with what?
You mentioned that blacks will be pretty much a permanent underclass in America by the year 2015. Why the year 2015?
2015 because what I've concluded from analysis is that there's going to be a converging of social factors nationally and internationally that's going to place blacks in a permanent status of underclassship. And one, we anticipate by that point in time, based on all the research that's coming to us, that the next generation of whites is going to be more anti-black than they've been since the civil rights movement. Two, we anticipate by the same token about 86 million Hispanics coming into the United States and about 41 million Asians by that point in time, which is going to kick black folk out of being the minority in the society down to a minority. We've been number 2 in the society for 400 years as a group. We're going to become number 4. And if we have not gotten anything after being number 2 for 400 years, you guess what's going to happen when we become number 4. Because at that point in time, all the new groups coming into America, they're coming in higher than we are, because this country operates off of a preferential acceptance program, which means that groups are coming in based on skin color. They're going from the lightest down to the darkest. Light, yellow, brown, black. And that's what our immigration laws are based on. And black folk will not be able to penetrate through those groups to get to the white society when that happens, because those groups owe us nothing. They don't understand our problems, and they are competitive with us, and we don't begin to be a little more aggressive about being in a competitive posture. They're going to eat our lunches.
And you
Contrary to what anybody tells you, I don't care whether it comes out of a black mouth or a white mouth. Anybody in America that tells you that you're progressing is lying to you. Black folk in proportional comparative terms are regressing. You have not moved one iota from where you were in 1860 on the eve of the Civil War. You're still on the bottom of the ladder. You're still outside and underneath the economic structure in this country. And that's why you look at all the indicators, social discomfort indicators. You find out there is no progress for black folk. I don't care whether society goes up and has a boom or goes down and has a depression. Black folks stay constant. You're always outside and underneath the structure. And that's why, and now with these upcoming problems in this society, when whites catch colds in this country, you're going to catch pneumonia. And you got to understand it is coming. Terrible, hard times are coming, and black folk are going to share a disproportionate burden of the difficulties that are coming because we're not prepared to deal with it. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on this morning. You got to understand as marketers what your problems are in this society. Now let's deal with the black community. I told you a few seconds ago that we are not progressing. Let's take some of the indicators. If I were to go back to 1860 on the eve of the Civil War, when you only had 287,000 black folk who were free, out of almost 5 million black folk that were enslaved, only 287,000 were free. Out of that 287,000 who were in quasi-freedom had succeeded in capturing one half of 1% of this nation's wealth in 1860 on the eve of the Civil War. Here we are 140 years later in the richest nation on the earth, and you still own and control only one half of 1% of the nation's wealth in the richest country on earth. You have not moved not one iota in terms of wealth. And make sure in your mind, it is not equality of opportunity. It is not integration. It's not civil rights that will determine your opportunities. It is what you own and control in terms of wealth and resources. Civil rights and integration gets you nothing. Use what you own and control to be a competitive group in our society. We gotta look for eradicate poverty. You cannot eradicate poverty. Poverty is a fix. It's a given. It's a given. You cannot eradicate poverty. Why? Because just like you can't eradicate, you got an up, you got a down, you got an in, you got an out. That is a fix. You cannot change it. And they always got people want to eradicate poverty. What you should be saying is leave poverty alone and go down and try to figure out how to get black folk out of poverty. Don't be trying to eradicate poverty. Leave poverty alone and get blacks out. And see, so what we need to have more equality. On a race-based society, you cannot have equality. It's impossible. The whole point of a race is a contest.
That's right.
See, a race, you all don't go to the Kentucky Derby to try to have all the horses being equal, do you?
No, you want one to win.
You got it again. You're a smart man. you want to see who comes in first, second, or place.
Right.
And so yet in a race-based society, why is it called a race? Race never started, never existed on the earth until the 1500s. See, and that's when it started. That's where racism comes from. They didn't pick racism just out of thin air.
It's a social construct.
It's a social construct.
Yeah.
It's a social construct. In front of you and poured cream in it. Do I make it stronger?
Hell no, you make it weaker.
That's right. So black folk went for social integration.
I've always asked, has integration helped to harm the black community? I think it harmed.
Knocked the black folks' brains out. Black folk had up 100 times more before social integration hit. See, I'm old enough to tell you all that. You're all not old enough to know that yet. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, see, we had something. We didn't have the resources we needed as much as we needed, but we had something. We had one of the things that's key to get to your question about where do we start. We had communities. We had communities all over America. In every city had a major community. Here, Harlem, places like that. We had our communities. We didn't have everything we wanted, but it was ours.
Yeah, we only hear about Black Wall Street. Sometimes you hear about Bronzeville in Chicago. Right. I can't remember the town in North Carolina, but we don't hear about that. They were literally those communities all over the country.
That's right. Well, Sweet Auburn and Atlanta, Georgia, that's had all the big hotels, fine restaurants, and everything. In North Carolina, what you're talking about now, see, I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Let me use that as an example. I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and we weren't looking for any social integration. You know why? Because we had our own businesses there. We had our own businesses. My family was a part of one that had the only black bus line in the entire United States. The only black bus line. And when I say we had a bus line, I'm not talking about 2 or 3 buses. We had over 500 buses.
Wow.
In Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And guess what? We had that from 1927 up to about 1967. In Winston-Salem, we also had our own cab companies. We had our own restaurants. We had our own hotels. We had our own school systems. And the bus lines, an example, we know what killed our buses?
Right.
Social integration. When all of a sudden, you all started talking about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King going down to Alabama, want to integrate the bus lines. Integrate whose bus lines? White bus lines. What they want? They didn't want to own and control and get the resources. They just want to sit on the front of it.
Yeah.
Now, you tell me, what does that indicate? Now, if you want to get on the bus, what you want to do is just want to sit on the front of it. Now, if the bus is moving, then the back of the bus will be where the front of the bus will move in a fraction of a second. And everybody gets off at the same time. And so in Winston-Salem, we had our own buses. And so when that movement was successful in Alabama, it came up to Winston-Salem. And blacks in Winston-Salem says, we want to ride on front of some white buses. So we said, we don't have any white buses. They said, well, we'll get some so we can ride on the front of them.
I feel like a complete asshole because I never thought about that. Like that whole time they did the boycott, they should have been trying to establish their own bus company as opposed to wanting to ride. I never thought about that. Y'all boycotted for a year just to want to ride on the front?
See, you're a smart man.
I never thought about that.
But you got it now, right?
Yeah.
Never so clear, I was too young, I couldn't articulate myself the right way, son. But now, let me break it down, pass it all around. This is not a theory, the conspiracy is real. They wanna put me in a straight jacket in the padded room. Tell the world it's 12 monkeys, so they could be confused. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep their eye on me. But I'ma stay incognito in places they can't find me. Make my moves strategically. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep their eye on me. But I'ma stay incognito in places they can't find me. Make my moves strategically. They say life is like chess. Well, fuck that, I'm tired playing.